So focusing in on unmarried couples this afternoon, should they have the same rights as those who are married, particularly over things like property and money? Well, that's a view of Britain's most senior family judge, Sir Nicholas Walls, says the current situation is unjust and that women in particular are left badly off. Well, let's put that to Lisa Pepper, who's partner at Osbornes Solicitors in Camden. Also with us is Justine Devine, one of the directors at 1+1 Marriage. Good afternoon to you both.
Hello, B. Hello.
Well, Lisa, let me ask you then, do you think that this judge has got it right, that now we do need, in terms of equality, at least the same rights for married and unmarried couples?
I certainly do, and his comments are very welcome. You know, over half of couples living together believe they have rights as common law spouses, and it's a nonsense.
So there is this kind of myth out there that if you live together for a number of years, well, if it did break down, things will work out, you will be treated fairly.
That is indeed the myth, and it's not right. People don't understand that living together gives them no financial protection if the relationship ends. It leaves countless people vulnerable to financial hardship, and we need to protect children and families.
When we talk about that kind of hardship, I wonder if you can give us the kind of examples that you've had to deal with.
Well, I can give you a very famous example to start with, rather than identify any of my poor clients. There's a famous example of the case of Mr. and Mrs. Burns, who weren't married. They're so-called Mr. and Mrs. Burns. They lived together for 19 years and had 2 children, lived as a family, pooled resources, but when the relationship ended, Mrs. Burns was entitled to nothing. And although that case was actually a number of years ago, the substantive law about that is unchanged. They're still not entitled to anything in those circumstances.
Let's talk to Justine Devine, who's one of the directors at 1+1 Marriage and Partnership Research. Hi, Justine.
Hello, hi.
In a situation like Lisa's described there, that doesn't seem fair, does it? Surely the current law does need to change.
I think, well, I would echo Lisa's point. I think this issue that 61% of people still believe that common law marriage exists is the real issue here. I think what we need to be focusing on is more clear and accessible information for people, so actually they know what marriage or living together has in store for them. If we empower people with the right information, then we can allow people to make an informed choice. I mean, in this day and age, with the amount of information that is available to people, it does seem ludicrous that so many people still believe that they are protected. Indeed, it's 61% of people think that even after 2 years they have the same rights. And unfortunately, people only find out that this is not the case when often it's too late.
Well, Lisa, I wonder, is that not then the better approach, as Justine is saying, that let's educate people so they know about the differences rather than going about changing the law in some way?
Well, Justine and I clearly speak of one in that there's not enough knowledge out there, but I don't really think the argument is don't give people rights, just teach them. There was a government PR campaign called Advice Now, and they had a Living Together website, and it made no difference to people's knowledge and lives about this whatsoever.
Justine, then, your concern presumably, and this informs the reason why you think information is the solution rather than a change in the law, is your concern about the impact this is going to have on marriage itself and the institution of marriage.
No, it's not that. I think Lisa's right. I don't think it's one or the other. I think we should be looking at the two situations. I think we should be A, looking at whether the law is fair, and B, looking at, well, why don't these campaigns work? Why is it that so many people are under a false expectation of their relationship?
And so you actually then would like to possibly see changes alongside the added information?
I think it's certainly worth looking at. I think with the amount of cohabiting couples we have, I think we certainly need to look at the situation and keep reviewing it. I don't think a change in the law necessarily undermines marriage. I think what we have to keep in mind is that, in a recent survey, 89% of young people still said that they aspire to get married. Marriage is still something that people believe in.
Well, Lisa, do you think that actually if we did have any changes in the way in which perhaps Sir Nicholas Wall talks about that it would undermine the institution of marriage, i.e. why should people bother if cohabiting couples have the same rights?
I really don't think it would undermine the institution of marriage. It's not much of a debate this, is it really? Justine and I are agreeing quite a lot here. One thing I would say actually, because I was thinking about this before, I think people often move in together too quickly. Accommodation is expensive. A couple get together. It seems sensible to pool resources, especially living in the city. I think for a lot of people, if you knew that if you moved in, there was more of a commitment required and somebody could have rights over your home, you might think twice about it. And furthermore, if you were really committed to them, you might think, you know what, then let's just get married. In for a penny, in for a pound. I don't think this is going to dilute marriage.
But isn't that an argument against changing the law in a sense? Isn't there an argument to say, look, if you're going to commit, then you should get married, and therefore the law doesn't need to change, because if you're committed enough, you're going to be married?
The law does need to change, because the law needs to keep up with changes in society, and we have to recognise now 1 in 6 couples cohabit. There has to be, that reflected in the law. It's that people are just not protected here, and we're worried about children and families.
Let's get a final word from Justine Devine before we leave this end, Justine. Picking up on that point that Lisa was making about keeping up with the times and law reflecting exactly what the situation is like now for couples. Do you think that's the role of the law? Should the government actually just be making decisions based on what people are doing rather than on what they think the policy should be?
Well, I'm afraid, as Lisa said, this is not going to be much of a debate because I'm in agreement with her to a large extent. I think there is obviously the phenomenon of people moving in together for practical reasons, with people finding it so hard to actually get a foot on the property ladder. There's a lot of practical reasons why people move in together. And, there is something in the research that is called the sliding rather than deciding effect. But I think what we should be looking at is sort of, yes, supporting people in actually having those conversations before they decide to get married, or before they decide to move in together. That actually, are they more informed about a whole range of things? How well do they know their partner before they actually take that step?
Well, we're going to leave it there. My thanks to you both. We just heard from Justine Devine, who's one of the directors at 1+1 Marriage. Also, my thanks to Lisa Pepper, who's a partner at Osbornes Solicitors in Camden.